Hello, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to my podcast. I am Eddie Ryder, and this is Designers Lane. I want to thank my sponsors, two sponsors that I have today. The first one is going to be Jenny Blanton. She's going to handle all of your real estate needs if you're in Central North Carolina. So that would be like the Raleigh-Durham, Cary area, Fayetteville. If you're buying or selling any type of real estate, give her a call. She can definitely help you out, answer any questions. And we also want to thank Dogwood and Company. They are a general contractor, primarily in the Cary, Wake County, North Carolina area. New construction, luxury construction, and also luxury remodeling. Any projects you have coming up that involve new construction or major remodeling, give them a call and see if they can't help you out. So, on my Zoom, my first Zoom in the studio, I have Chris in Wilmington, North Carolina. She was a wonderful client. Chris, how long have you been in your house now? A couple of years, year and a half?
Yeah, it will be 3 years in October.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Time has gone by.
Sorry, 2 years in October.
2 years. That makes me feel a little bit better. I was like, oh, holy cow, still 2 years is still a long time.
Yeah.
Chris and her husband, Larry, built a beautiful home in Wilmington, North Carolina. I was very, very fortunate to work with you and Larry. We met on the very front side. And if I remember correctly, it's been a couple of years ago, the builder, wonderful builder, Mark Johnson Custom Homes, again of Wilmington, North Carolina, brought me to meet you guys at the very beginning. And we talked a little bit and you guys made a decision, I'm thinking made a decision that this is the builder we want to go with. We like the design team. And we started interviewing and meeting other architects. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. And then we took some time, or you guys actually took a little bit of time, decided which architect that you wanted to use. And then that particular architect designed your plans on there and then did an amazing job. Actually, behind you, I was telling our producer that that's not a drop screen. That's actually your real family room, a great room that has volume. Looks amazing. I forget how amazing it is sometimes, but I absolutely love it. Beautiful. Want to remind everyone that, again, you are pre-COVID. Who the heck knew what COVID was when you were building this house and designing it? And right before we went live, we were talking about the time links that everything is taking right now. Your project definitely takes longer than a normal house because it has lots of fabulous detail to it. You have to think about it. We have to plan for it. But now we were just talking about how I'm telling people it's 18 plus months to build a home, just with the delays, which is insane, but it's a way of life right now. Hopefully it will change a little bit. But looking again behind you, it just flashes back memories, how fabulous everything was and the details and the time that we took. And it looks absolutely amazing. I still love the fish behind you on the fireplace and then the piece of art, which there's definitely a story with. Couple questions. I've given you a list, so I'm not blindsiding you with these questions for our listeners. We're going to go through and answer as much as we can. Love your honest opinions with what you tell us and what you think is important, and we kind of roll from there. Our first question we have is, what made you and Larry decide to move to Wilmington? You're not from Wilmington. I believe you're from the East Coast, but tell our listeners, what was kind of got you the oomph to move there? Because Wilmington is beautiful and you're right on the Intercoastal Waterway. It's absolutely amazing.
So we are from Western Pennsylvania, which tends to have long winters. So we knew we wanted to move somewhere south, warmer weather eventually. Our really good friends moved right up the street and they lived here for a few years, kept saying, come on down, you'll love it here, you'll love it here. We came down and within 24 hours, we were looking for a lot to buy. So we fell in love with Wilmington. We love the Intracoastal, the water activities. We love the downtown, the restaurants, and also having good friends right here really helped.
That's beautiful. How much snow have you guys had in your new house versus your old house?
0 inches.
There you go.
0
So
flake.
Larry doesn't have to get out and shovel the driveway. I'm sure that he
Right.
is thrilled about that. Again, I'm a snow person, and everyone says you love snow until you live in it. A lot of upstate New York people tell me that when I go up there and visit them, how wonderful it is. I even think you said on one of our buying trips that you would change your opinion if you lived in it for 6 or 7 months versus
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple of days a year. So I
It gets
agree.
old,
It
especially the
does.
older you get.
But it's absolutely beautiful. But I get it; it's not fun to live with. Regarding the architectural revisions and the meetings, I believe that they were around 7 or 8 months. We would get the plans. Is that about right? Or I know that they weren't shorter than that. They may have been even longer.
Yeah, they were, I would say, probably closer to like 9 or 10. We met with Chuck a number of times. Well, let's go back. First of all, we met with, a few different architects,
Correct.
and, they were all wonderful. They all had something to bring to the table, but Chuck really listened to us. And I think he nailed what we wanted. He really got us. So, we chose him and had, numerous meetings, went over drawings, he gave us his ideas, we gave him feedback. And so it was, back and forth for a while.
I think having a really good understanding and a relationship with not only your builder, but with your architect and, of course, your designer is really important, because you have to be able to communicate that back and forth. And this is not only an investment for you, it's somewhere that for you guys, it was going to be a permanent home. You were physically moving here. It wasn't another vacation home or a vacation home. It was somewhere that you were going to be. So it was really, really important. And I agree. The architect, Chuck, did an amazing job and was definitely a team player and to make that happen. So people that get a little bit concerned, where I tell them that, allow 6 months for an architect, you probably say, I wish it was 6 months. What words of wisdom would you have to say, what, that's not really that long? And
I would just say, it's a process. Don't rush it, because in the end, you're going to be so happy with the results if you put the time in.
I agree.
There were so many little things that we would go back and forth on. And with you were involved in that as well. And, now living in the house, it's like, oh, I'm so glad that we took the time to figure this out, or to, contemplate this or that.
The little
it's
things
worth it in the end.
It is.
Yep.
The little things matter a whole bunch. And it's just trying to explain that to people. It's difficult to, once you get, I call it knee deep, you start getting involved in it, you see it. So one of the lovely features that I love in your house is we plan for an elevator. You're very fortunate in Wilmington. You're one of the few homes that you actually have 3 floors. You had a grade drop, so the back of your property slopes down to the water. So we were able to, or the builder was able to build, and the architect create you to have 3 stories. So it enabled us to have an elevator. Probably the vast majority, we do exactly what we did for you. We don't put it in, but we plan for it. We wire for it. We make it storage. We make it shelves in there. In your view or your opinion, do you think there's still an opportunity that you would go and put an elevator in there, or do you feel like, what, I'm going to use it forever for storage and as a fabulous closet?
Well, I mean, right now we're thinking it's going to be storage, but you never know down the road if we would happen to need it. It's there, and I'm very glad that we wired for it. And
I
we at
agree.
least have that.
I agree, and tell people that all the time, that you never know 5 or 10 years or 15 years down the road if you're going to use it or if you're going to need it. Our bodies do change as we get to be a little bit older, and then we have the stairs that obviously we can use. I personally like the elevator to put stuff in and push it up to other floors, because as you know, moving everything and installing your home, it's certainly nice to have a freight elevator or a freight place instead of pulling everything up and down the stairs. That definitely matters. One last thing on the architecture and with the architect, do you feel like that there are any factors that are must-haves? Not that you would do differently in your application, but things that were really, really important to you that you brought up, maybe 2 or 3 elements that these are things that I have to have. In other words, the staircase isn't a major focal point for me. I don't particularly care about that, but I need an elevator. Are there a couple of items that were really important for you?
There were. So number one, I think we wanted a timeless look. We didn't want something that was going to, look, I don't want to say dated, but that you could pinpoint,
The
okay,
D word, it's okay.
just sort of like a timeless, coastal cottage feel, which I feel like we definitely got with our plans. And the other thing that we really wanted was we wanted substantial woodwork. We came from an old home in Pennsylvania that had really great, casings and beautiful woodwork, and we wanted that in our new home as well. And so those were two really important things.
And you have them,
Great
and
sound production.
it is. And for the people that are listening in the South, by woodwork, she means trim and casing, which she said. So again, if you notice behind her, there's all this beautiful, that's a small coffer up in the ceiling, and there's trim detail around it. And boy, I remember time and time and time getting the trim over the windows lining up with the cabinets to be the right height, and it was such a major important factor for you. And I think one of the reasons that your architect is so fabulous is it was a big deal for him, and he got it all lined up. And it took some time. We had to think about it, and there were many emails and many drawings, but boy, it's really fantastic. I think that's amazing. So what we're going to do now is ask Drago to slide me up a little bit what the next questions are on my question list. There we go. Interior features. We're now going to talk a little bit about what you're probably looking at now is your kitchen, which I think is amazing. You sent me some inspiration pictures, and what we'll do is actually the producer afterwards will come in and put the pictures that we're talking about, so you're not going to see them up right now. But we do have two pictures of your kitchen. I think one of the features that I love so much and the inspiration that you sent, and we spent many hours talking about, is your hood. I felt like that was one of the big deals for you in your kitchen, and it turned out beautifully. For our listeners, your hood contrasts the white perimeter cabinets, and then I believe it matched the color pretty darn closely to what we did with the island, which is a darker stain, maybe even had a little bit of a glaze mixed to it. And I remember on the outside, and when we look at the pictures, the listeners and watchers will be able to see it, we had the banding, that metal, and that was such a big deal for the look of that hood. And then the inspiration pictures that you sent, that was in all of them. That was just there. And I remember that the cabinet shop, Holly, gave us, to me, what looked like spoons. I just always remember, and there were probably 1,000 in there. And we just both looked and laughed and like, oh my gosh, we get to pick these out. And there were 4 that to me, I was like, well, golly, what is the difference? These look the exact same. And that's nice sometimes in design because you can't necessarily go wrong. And then we fell back on the cabinet manufacturer to say, hey, is one better than the other? Tell me in a few words how important the hood is, and do you turn it on, and do you use it? Because it's a big hood. It's a big hood.
Yes, it is very functional. We do use it. I cook a lot, so I do use it. It was very important to me, though. Going through house pictures when we first started, it jumped out at me immediately, and I wanted something different for my hood. I wanted to break up because we have a lot of white in here with the woodwork and with the cabinets. And I wanted to break that up a little bit, do something a little bit different. And Holly was very instrumental in helping us get this all put together. And we couldn't be happier with it. People comment on it all the time when they come in. So
it's amazing. It has a horizontal texture to it. It's almost like a tambour wood when people look at it. And actually, the metal finish on it was your idea. It was in the inspirations that you had, and I think it's amazing. It took some time. Again, it wasn't the easiest, and they had to deal with it a few times, and there were many calls with Holly at the cabinet shop how to get it to work. But as everyone gets to look at it, and I would remind everyone, if you're listening, when you get a chance, you can log into YouTube and physically see it. It's amazing. It's truly beautiful, and I think it breaks up the color of the white. You're very correct. There is a fair amount of white around, but that's how it is designed. It's a minimalist look, but yet it's still warm, and I think it turned out just really nice. You love to cook. Although the time we spent together, a lot of it was out because the bulk of that, you didn't
Yeah.
have a house, you didn't have a way to cook.
Right.
Tell me how much you like or dislike, and hope you like it, your refrigeration and your range, because your refrigerator we did a little bit larger, and then also the range, you did a 48-inch range, which gives you two ovens. There's a 38, or excuse me, a 30-inch underneath and an 18. And I get sometimes a little bit of pushback or people question that, hey, I don't want to bend over to open my two ovens. I want to have them on the wall. But often there's not enough space. It also ends up being a little bit more expensive than if you do one. And if you're going for that commercial oomph look, you really need to have it under. So what's your feeling or your vibe on having that 48-inch range? And I believe we did Thermador.
We did, yes. We're very happy with our appliances. I came from a kitchen that had a double wall oven, and so I was a little bit like, I don't know if I'm going to like bending over, but it honestly has not been an issue. And I love having the smaller oven with the steam feature, which I'm still experimenting with, but love that. And our refrigerator freezer, couldn't be happier with that as well.
That works
So,
very, very well.
yeah.
There was a bit of debate on your refrigerator freezer having the water and ice dispenser on the outside, and I felt like that was just sort of a non-condition for you. That was a must.
Right.
Do you still feel the same way regarding that feature?
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm glad. Yeah.
That's
We can
always
be able to- so.
It's always a little bit of a challenge with clients. Again, I love the beautiful, clean look, but form versus function. Sometimes, especially at the beach where it's warm and you need water and be able to access it, having it on the outside panel is definitely
Well, and the
nice.
doors are heavy. I mean, they're very well built. So if you're going in and out a lot, you'd build up a lot of muscle, but it wouldn't be as convenient. So I
I
like it on
agree. Well, and they're nice and they're tall and they're heavy, so they do be able to do it. I'd like to move to your laundry room and your pantry area, which is in your house walking toward the garage, which I think is fabulous. Your laundry room, we did this really cool floor. You had washing machine and dryer stacked to the left and right, and there was definitely some discussion on how the storage worked in there, and we played a little bit with it. You took a little extra effort with doing stained barn doors, and if I remember correctly, there were two that open and close, and I always made the comment, the cool thing with barn doors is that regardless if they're open and closed, you're going to see them. And, I think I bet $1 that the bulk of the time they were going to be open. And you're a very neat person, so that didn't bother me at all, and you're very organized. Or maybe Larry is. Someone in the family is. So right now, are those doors opened or closed?
Right now they are probably open.
Okay, there you go. So everyone here, more than likely, they're going to be open. However, you have an amazing laundry room. Are there a couple features in there that were really important to you? I felt like the barn doors were, I wanted you to stain them and not paint them. So they actually have nice contrast against the wall. And then I talked you into beautiful hardware to open and close. And I do know that those grab you. You made that comment right when you moved in, and they grabbed me even a couple of times. Is that one thing that you would have changed and brought up for people? Because we're certainly doing barn doors in laundry rooms. And there's just, yesterday I was at a meeting, and there's always this debate, do you have the hardware where it's flush at the top, or does it come down? And and the wife said the exact same thing. She was like, I want to walk past it and it's just going to grab me, or she called it bite. It's going to bite me. And, but they look beautiful. They look so pretty. Do you have an opinion?
They do. I would say that maybe we, if we had to do it again, I would go with smaller handles that aren't, in the way so much. But we've learned, you learn that you just walk out a little further, and it's good. They look beautiful, and especially when it is closed. So
they do look beautiful, and it's always one of the challenges for designers is to, again, form and function. It has to be more than just pretty. It has to function. And I thought the same thing. Probably when you walk with 2 arms full of bags and that throws you on the floor, you probably slide over an extra 6 inches or a foot, so it doesn't do it. Larry probably doesn't have as much of a challenge because I'm thinking it probably grabs your pocketbook and then other things when you walk by, or either you realize, okay, when I'm coming into the house, I'm always going to put my pocketbook on the opposite side.
Well, it's actually more when we're coming out of the laundry room. Walking by hasn't been an issue so much as
Is when
if you're
you leave
walking
it.
out with a handful of something. But We've learned to live with it.
Very much so. And then did you buy your washing machine and dryer after you moved in? Did you have it well before you moved in, or did you buy it based on the design?
We ordered that before we moved in from the same from Ferguson,
So
the same appliance dealer.
So what we did is we had a general idea of what the washing machine and dryer was going to be, and then we submitted that to the cabinet shop. And then the cabinet shop built the design around that washing machine and dryer. A lot of folks think everything is the same. Well, if you have a pedestal underneath, your washing machine and dryer is going to be raised up a little bit. You may or you may not have cabinets. In your application, you did not have cabinets above. If I remember correctly, we have these really cool artworks. I think they're bugs or something that we found at one of the markets. And I hate to say bugs because everyone's going to say ooh, but they're not ooh bugs. They're cool bugs that's in there. And they're fun. And then you have storage on the left and the right side. So I think that is wonderful and absolutely fantastic.
Very functional.
Very, very functional. Another question in your laundry room. What do we do on the floor?
So we did a brick type look. I believe it's ceramic.
It is. It's a porcelain tile that looks like an old style cobble. And again, that in my mind fell into your timeless look classic that would last. And if down the road you wanted to, God forbid, paint the walls pink, they would still look good and it would last with multiple choices. And I also had an agenda, not that you guys are not neat and perfect in your housekeeping. It also helps hide dust and stuff because it's not very, very even. It's one of the factors. So I love it. And again, I think at 15 years, people are still going to pick that out and think it's amazing and looks wonderful. Your hardwood floors, which you can't see, but those were a big deal. We spent lots of time. You found a vendor. You actually found the hardwood floors at another fabricator, and then we submitted them to someone local to purchase them. I think that they are amazing. They're solid. They're thick. They're not shiny. They have a matte finish to them. They're more of a hand scraped flavor and feel to them. We match the stair treads going up and down stairs, which is always a challenge. Often the floor manufacturer does not offer that. We were able to, with that collection, make it happen. I believe that they sent us one, if not 10 samples that weighed 1,000 pounds a piece. I think when I drove to Wilmington, my car front end was like, whoop, going down there. They were heavy, but amazing and beautiful. Anything that you would do differently regarding those floors?
No, really, we love them. We have 2 big dogs, so we were looking for something that was a little bit more durable. And any hardwood will scratch, any engineered flooring will scratch, but these are holding up really well. We have a puppy who runs around like a nut, and so far they still look pretty good. So no, we love them.
How are they holding up with the dogs? That's a big, huge question.
They're holding up well. There's one area that is showing a little bit of wear and tear, but other than that, they look great.
Wonderful. Your bathroom, we did very clean, very timeless bathroom. What's your thought? We're going to put up a picture on this as we go back, but your bathroom was clean. You had the very similar floor and wall tile and the color. Your part of the area, how did that vibe and flow for you?
We love our master bath. We went with like a basket weave on the floor, and which does give it sort of like that timeless look. And I have a couple little pullouts that I found pictures on Houzz that Hollingsworth was able to recreate, which I love. Hides all my makeup and junk, so it's easy to keep clean and organized. So yeah, we really enjoy it. And it's functional for both of us if we're both getting ready at the same time. We're not bumping into each other. It's not a huge space, but it's enough. It's definitely enough for us, and it works well.
It's planned out very well. And then you actually have separate areas. So you have 2 separate sinks, so you don't have to look at each other. You don't have to see each other. And again, it's a very effective use of space that's in there. We're running a little bit tight on time, so I want to ask you a couple of other questions. I have a fabulous picture of the exterior elevation of your home, and it's definitely going to be a wow feature. I want to tell everyone we talked about the metal roofing and the shingles were something that we put a lot of effort. You have a fabulous pool out in the back. Do you use the pool?
We do.
You do
We
use the pool,
We
which is
do.
wonderful. I always question people, and that is such a lovely shape that you have. It's flat on one side. It's called an infinity edge, so it goes down into the water. Looks amazing, and we did some beautiful setting out there. I think the rear elevation of your home is just as nice as the front, and I always encourage people. They have a tendency to forget about the back, and then you guys did not do that from the very get go. You're like, we want the back just to be just as spectacular as the front. And I think it certainly pulls off. And also at dusk, it's just, I was never there when the sun came up, thank goodness. But I've seen when the sun sets, and it's absolutely amazing. You have those bubblers in there. I think it's wonderful. Anything back by the pool you look different that you do? I like it because it's covered. I'm white as a ghost, so I can't be out in the sun too long. And you've got that covered area and that seating. I think it's amazing and perfect.
Yeah, we use it a lot. That's where we hang out. We get off the boat and hang out there and play music. And but no, I can't think of anything that we would have changed. In our plans, we had a hot tub that we actually did away with, and we just had this conversation. We don't miss it, but we like the extra space because a lot of times we have people over, and so it's nice to have an area to spread out. But I guess someday if we missed a hot tub, we could put one in.
You can always put one in. It's a beautiful space that's down below. Also want to tell our listeners that we spent a couple of trips together. We went to for the furniture and the decor on the inside. You pretty much did your house close from scratch. We were very fortunate that we were able to design everything around. So we laid out the furniture. We knew what it was going to be for the sizes of the rooms. We went to Atlanta. We went to High Point. One of those places we went twice. And then I always laugh and tell people, I know you guys are very healthy and then eat very, very healthy. And I always laugh that High Point and Atlanta is probably the place that you don't want to go, the furniture markets, because every showroom in the whole wide world has food. And I have mentioned in my other podcast that I was recently at the Dallas Lighting Show, and I plan my schedule according to lunch and breakfast, who's going to have the best food. So that absolutely makes definite sense to think about that. And that was a ton of fun. And
we had a great time.
I always encourage.
So worth it. So worth it.
It is. Always encourage people to do that. And it's amazing. Chris, believe it or not, we are touching 30 minutes and I'm getting flashes from Zoom that tells me that it's going to cut you off if I don't shut up. So I'm going to thank you tremendously, and we'll definitely have to have you back and talk about the furniture. We had so much fun and so many details. Maybe we'll get some pictures and we'll talk about our Atlanta trip and other stuff. I also want to let our listeners know that we want to thank our sponsors that we have: Jenny Blanton, handling all of your real estate needs in Cary, Raleigh-Durham, Wake County area. And again, Dogwood and Company, we want to give them a call if you're building a luxury home. Do something like Chris did. Be ready. It's going to take you a little bit of time, but definitely give him a ring or give Dogwood and Company a ring and see what they can do. Remind everyone, Designers Lane, I'm Eddie Ryder. Check us out. We're on multiple platforms. Chris, hopefully you're going to tell your friends. And I can't thank you enough. You're very brave. I appreciate I didn't see your husband pop in and out of the back. I was expecting his head just to come in and give us a little beam shot. So
I haven't walked in the garage, but
it is. Hey, that's okay. That's there. Home is beautiful. And for those who don't know, I think it's the very beginning of September. So our seasons are starting to change. So again, you've had a couple of years. It's nice to be able to have the seasons, and it won't be long of your left shoulder where you'll be able to open those sliding glass doors all the way and then get that natural air that blows in there. So thanks again. Beautiful home. And we will see you soon and talk to you again. Everyone have a great day.